as well. And it seems like City are hitting that stride once again, Danny. They are into the semi-finals of the Champions League. They're into the final of the FA Cup. They're just a handful of points behind Arsenal with 2 games in hand. I know Pep Guardiola has brushed away any talks of the treble because they've not won any yet so far. But they are hitting stride at the right time, and it looks like it's on the cards, Danny. A huge, huge percentage, perhaps.
Well, it's like Sir Alex Ferguson used to say, you know, the season begins in March. It's irrelevant almost what happens before then. You've got to be in the hunt. You've got to be in the mix. You know, you've got to be in quarterfinals, semi-finals. You've got to be in contention for the league title in March. Doesn't matter whether you're ahead or whether you're second. It's then about that final 10 games of the season. Can you go on that run? We've seen it time and time again from Manchester City. What was it, one season? 17 in a row they won at the back end of the season to pip Liverpool. We saw it last year against Aston Villa, last game of the season, 2-0 down. They come back and win, you know, to win the Premier League. Don't forget, this will be their 3rd Premier League in a row to draw level with Manchester United. They could also win the Champions League. They could also win the FA Cup and do the treble. Very, very similar to what Manchester United done. And we all know what an incredible achievement that was. So the drive and desire and the relentlessness that Manchester City have will certainly be there right until the end. So don't be... This facade about fatigue and everything else is nonsense. And the fact that Pep hasn't mentioned publicly the treble, believe me, in-house, they all know it, they all want it, and they will all do everything possible to get it.
And to think this is a side,
sorry, Michelle. Sorry, Michelle. I was going to say, I think this business about fatigue is really interesting. Personally, as a player, when I had a big game to play in, if we were challenging at the top end of the league, which, believe it or not, at Tottenham we did a few times when I was there, if we had a cup final to play, which, you know, I'm pleased to say in my career happened on a couple of occasions, you know, if we were doing well in Europe, then, do you know something? I never felt tired. But when the season was a bit of a struggle, i.e. we were out of everything, you know, that's when the games became physically demanding. For me personally, you know, the big games, great. Those games that kind of, you know, are irrelevant, i.e. because you're out of the league, you're out of the, you know, there's nothing to play for. They're the ones that I found really difficult. So I think this Man City squad will be full of energy, full of belief, full of determination, adrenaline, and that will keep them going.
And to think, Gary, this was a City side. Many people have brushed off that this isn't a top-level City side. That they're so-called in a bit of a rebuilding phase with Erling Haaland. They're not at their best, and yet they're up for a treble. Can they do it, Gary? Will they achieve the treble?
Well, it's mighty tough. Of course, they're in with a great chance. I'm looking at it. They've got 11 games and hopefully from their perspective, 12 still to play because the final one would be the Champions League final. You know, have a look at them in the FA Cup. They can't do any more. They're in the final. They have to wait and find out if they play Brighton or Manchester United. If you have a look at the Premier League, they're 5 points behind Arsenal. And they play Arsenal next week. So if they win that game, they're 2 points behind with 2 games in hand. You know, there's a real test, isn't it, against Real Madrid in the Champions League. But I don't think City fear them. I think City can certainly give them a run for their money, and there's no reason why they can't beat them. So to answer your question, in short, yes, City can do the treble.
Will they, though, Gary? Will they? Is the bigger question.
But, I think they might, Michelle. For the
well, of course reason. They might.
Well, I think they probably will. I think if they beat Arsenal, the league is theirs. That's done. Because I think Arsenal still have Brighton to go to to play. They've got Newcastle to play. They're still tough games. They're not going to be particularly easy. And we know psychologically that'll be very, very damaging to Arsenal. So I think if they win that game on Wednesday night, they win the league. They will be favourites in the FA Cup, whoever gets through tomorrow. And if they get past Real Madrid, I think they win the Champions League. Simple as that. Unless Pep does one of these bizarre tinkering acts in the final and play something completely different. They are the strongest team left in every single competition. So there's no reason why they shouldn't go on and win it.